Well, the first day actually started last week. I got into town on the 25th. I made the trek from Nacogdoches, Texas to Greenville. And it took about 3 days. I broke it up over that period just so that I could have time to rest along the way. I went to Auburn, Alabama, and saw my best friend who is a pirate. He's an alum. He's their vice president for Student Affairs there. And then I made my way to Hickory, where I'm from, and I stayed with my brother and got to see my mom and stepdad and see my niece cheer. So that was exciting. And then I did not bring the tornado with me, but I made my journey on Wednesday, the 25th, to Greenville. And it just happened that we were under a tornado watch. But I got here Wednesday and got checked in, and I've tried to get plugged in already. I've been to a couple student events, and part of my job as Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs is to be an advocate for them, to listen to them and help them with their needs. And I think being visible to them is important. So I've had a couple events I've been able to do and hit the ground running. But today I came in, as you could maybe see on the video, my office is decorated with that beautiful purple and gold, and I've got M&M's, my favorite candy, the team's put here. So I've definitely felt warmly welcomed, and as we were talking about earlier before the camera came on, I've eaten my weight in North Carolina barbecue since I've arrived here.
That's like your stamp of approval when you get here. You got to eat the barbecue.
Absolutely. You know, being a North Carolinian, it's in our blood. I know there's the Eastern and the Western North Carolina debate on barbecue, but there's no bad barbecue. Whole hog or just the Boston butt, it doesn't matter. I do prefer the Eastern North Carolina vinegar-based style. So.
Okay. So you're right at home here.
It feels good to be home. 23 years, you know. I've been a bit of a journeyman. My wife and I, she's a North Carolinian too, she's from Charlotte. And working in higher education, a lot of times you move around. And I've worked in North Carolina, I've worked in Georgia, Alabama, Northwest Florida, Nacogdoches, Texas, and then now back home here to North Carolina.
What was so attractive about ECU?
Well, really, 3 or 4 main things stood out. One of the things that caught me at first is the mission of East Carolina. It's focused on student success. And as someone looking to do work with Student Affairs, I mean, my eye laser-like focus on that. The next thing it talked about is, or I looked at, is your motto, to serve. And that's big to me. Growing up in rural North Carolina, I was a first-generation college student myself. I looked at the student population and I looked at the mission to serve, and I gravitated to that. Next, I was really impressed by Chancellor Rogers. His energy, his vision, his passion. He's talked about one ECU, and during the interview, and I responded to that. And then the next thing would definitely be the students. You know, I got to interact with a number of students on campus, but they're so bright and outgoing and smart, and it said, hey, if you can, come work here. And then finally is to be able to get back to North Carolina and to be close to family, and just, you know, for my children to grow up in the state in which their mom and dad was born in is exciting. This is definitely for me, hopefully, a long-term job commitment. I'm excited about the opportunity, and really that's kind of what pulled me to ECU and joining Pirate Nation.
Awesome. Sounds like you're hitting the ground running already, but what are some of kind of the first things that you hope to accomplish in this role?
I think for me, I want to first thank Dr. Hardy, Virginia Hardy, my predecessor. She was here, and her legacy is here. And her service to students and the quality division that she built over her tenure as Vice Chancellor is impressive. That was another reason I came here. The Student Affairs team is great. It's well trained, it's on point, and to be able to lead a dynamic division like that was exciting. I hope to build on that work. I mean, my main priorities are going to be, you know, as I look at UNC rolled out their refresh for their strategic plan, the system. Some of those components that stood out to me were student access and student success. So I think those are 2 of the priorities that I'm probably going to lead with. And then as we get into more the what are the specifics, I'm going to spend a lot of the first 3 to 6 months is learning. You know, I want to listen. I want to learn the culture. I've worked in higher ed for 23 years, but every institution's unique. Every institution's dynamic, and I want to learn that culture, and I want to learn Greenville's culture, so that way I can be an effective administrator and colleague to stakeholders. But some of the focus areas are probably going to be is how do we, with the UNC system refresh rollout, how does that tie to the divisions updating its strategic plan? I think having that map and laying out a vision where we're going is important. The components of, once we put the strategic plan together, some of the things that come to mind first and foremost is, again, student success. Along with that, student well-being, student belonging, career readiness, and student development and growth. So those are probably going to be some of the main priorities that we look like. But again, I'm going to want to talk to the leadership. I'm going to want to talk to the division to see, because it's a shared process. It's not just the vice chancellors. It's a shared process, and I want to make sure the team's involved in kind of bringing the vision to life.
That's awesome. With the students you met with already, kind of what's the feel you get on campus?
Well, I think I'm by nature, I'm a fairly outgoing person, and I walked up. I was at one of our fraternities was doing a fundraiser for one of their brothers that had gotten hurt in an accident, and they were doing a pig picking. And I was like, oh man, there's pork again. And so I went over to that organization's, they were hosted in a sorority's house. And so I went over there and I'd got me a plate and just kind of talking with the members of those organizations. They were excited. I think it surprised them because I was in my jeans and boots. I had my blazer on, but they're like, okay, I can kind of talk to him. And you know, throughout my career, I've just tried to really be approachable to students. I want them to respect the position, but if they can't approach me, they can't talk to me, then it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to impede me from being able to do my job. But they were really excited about, wow, you're here, you want to engage with that. And I enjoyed just those conversations, talking about everything from what they're studying to entrepreneurial ventures that they were trying to start, and the best practices for cooking a whole hog. So there were a lot of good, robust conversation there.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you're just, really looking forward to while you're here, or anything else you'd like for people to know?
Well, for me, I think I'm honored to have been selected as the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. I hope I can build on Dr. Hardy's legacy. I'm excited about being an advocate for student success, and I look forward to meeting and interacting with our colleagues that are here on campus, the students, and then our friends in the community. But thank you for the opportunity to talk today, and I appreciate it.